Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by South African Human Rights Commission's Eastern Cape Provincial Manager, Dr. Eileen Carter. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the programme.
Good evening, Peter, and good evening to your viewers.
All right, so what is Social Media Charter? What does it do?
Well, it's an initiative from the Human Rights Commission to assist members of the public, companies at large, to navigate this interesting landscape that is social media. Social media has taken us by storm. It's an environment that we interact with on a daily basis. So we kind of need some rules and regulations and some parameters when it comes to human rights realization, and also to make sure that we don't violate the human rights of others. So from the Human Rights Commission's perspective, we see this as a roadmap that users can use to say, you know what, watch out for this, watch out for that, and then let's safeguard each other's rights.
All right, so it's a simple user guide on how to behave on social media, and also perhaps understand when your rights have been violated, because I think some people don't know when that line's been crossed and you're the victim.
Absolutely. I think during today's discussions, Peter, it was very pertinently pointed out that education is very much important for us to navigate social media. So we are pointing out to users what is defamation. We are pointing out to users what is disinformation and misinformation, and what constitutes hate speech. But not only that, what can you do when you have fallen victim to all of this? And of course, the role that the Human Rights Commission can also play in vindicating your rights.
You know, I want to be very optimistic about this. I think it's a great initiative, but I suppose the challenge is policing this thing, isn't it? And perhaps people know already that what I'm about to tweet is not cool, but I don't like the person I'm going to write about. I'm going to tweet it anyway. So the charter is there, but some people will just ignore it, won't they?
Isn't that the reality of everything in life, Peter?
Yeah.
We've got the rules, we've got the regulations, but implementation is always the issue. So from the Human Rights Commission's perspective, you would know, Peter, we've got a three-pronged mandate. We monitor, we promote, and we protect. So in this regard, we are promoting human rights and social media and how to navigate this space. But we are not afraid to use our protection mandate as well. So in that respect, we also come in strongly to say that there are avenues which we are going to be able to use in order to make sure that when there is a rights violation, that we will address it. So perhaps that might be a deterrent in people deciding to ignore the rules and regulations pertaining to social media. And of course, what we are in fact promoting is look at yourself, look at how you personally are navigating this space, and go for positive change. Social media is such a powerful tool, and we had the partners on the panel as well today, Google and TikTok. And with a proper framework of human rights in place and partners, multinational partners, surely we will be able to make social media a tool for good and not for evil.
What have you found are the most prevalent types of abuses in South Africa?
Well, when it comes to social media, it is surely hate speech and harassment. From the Human Rights Commission's perspective, the number one complaint that we found in the past financial year relates to equality. And sometimes those equality issues come from social media platforms. It is people being really ugly to each other on social media. So it would be relating to race, it's discrimination based on ethnicity. And those are the types of things that people are using to discriminate against each other. And we've recently also done a bit of a snapshot survey when it comes to GBV online. And we found that women are really being are really victims online, and they are experiencing abuse at horrific levels. In terms of our snapshot survey, more than 70% of all the women that we engaged with experienced abuse online, and that would be anything from body shaming to harassment to stalking, and all of these new types of what we call new types of GBV online. So these are the types of issues that we are faced with, and that's why we would promote people engaging with our social media charter, which is available now on all our social media networks as well. And let's see how we can better navigate this space.
Do you think there's a disconnect for some people about being online under a pseudonym, using an emoji as my profile picture, that they think what they're doing is not real?
I do think so. And I do think with that misconception also comes a misunderstanding that we are not able to pinpoint who you are. And in fact, we are, Peter. As the Human Rights Commission, when we do engage with that protection mandate avenue, we appoint tracing agents. We've also subpoenaed social media platforms in Silicon Valley, where they have had to provide us with the details of IP addresses, email addresses, the phone numbers who created these social media platform or addresses and profiles. And we've been able to engage on that level. So the pseudonym and the emoji can only protect you for as long as you are not reported. And if we really want to find you, we'll be able to do so.
So if someone feels like they're being cyberbullied, where do they go?
Ours is to promote an engagement with the platform itself very early on, to report that this abuse is taking place, to make sure that it stops immediately. And then, of course, the nature of that type of abuse will determine the way forward. You can report it to the police, you can report it to your attorneys, you can report it to the Human Rights Commission, you can actually go to the Equality Court yourself as well. Don't need an attorney to access the Equality Court. So there are various avenues depending on what type of abuse you're experiencing. But your first point of entry would be to report it on the platform online to see whether we can immediately seize the abuse online.
All right. And the other thing is, and I think there's also another misconception, people who retweet, repost, reshare, they're just as guilty, aren't they, as the original poster?
There's a big risk there, and we need to be responsible for what we promote on our Twitter feeds and on our social media platforms. And what we also must remember is wherever, and that, Peter, we've actually again on Monday established that in Gqeberha High Court, wherever that social media post is read or the hurt is felt, that's the court, or that's the area where jurisdiction will be established. So you can be dragged to court all over South Africa if you tweeted or retweeted or shared a post that is offensive to someone else.
All right. So do you think that what perhaps needs to happen is a few cases need to be tested, go through the courts, and so that people can see that these crimes are serious and they are punishable?
Well, Peter, the cases are there, and that's why I'm saying education, education, education. We need to just make sure this information reaches the end user so that they know there are risks and there are responsibilities. So we can't just interact online as if it does not affect the human rights of real people. It's a platform, just as interacting with people in real life, it's a platform which you can abuse people's rights, and that carries responsibilities. So the test cases are there, Peter. We just need to educate our users on it now.
All right, we've run out of time, but quickly give us the address where they can go and get this charter.
So it's on all our social media platforms. You can just Google South African Human Rights Commission. It's on our Twitter page, on our Facebook page, and we invite you to engage with us on any of those social media platforms and ask the questions, and we will try to answer them as well.
Dr. Carter, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Good luck with this work.
Thank you so much, Peter. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night. That's Dr. Eileen Carter, who's Human Rights Commission's Eastern Cape Provincial Manager, talking to us about this social media charter that's been launched today.